Hi, my name is Sukanya Chakrabarti, and I'm an assistant professor at the School of Theatre and Dance. Um, I was teaching a class in the spring semester of 2020, which was Theatre 704, and it was called Contemporary Plays and Performance. Um, I designed the class uh, to have more alignment with the topic that we were discussing in our project, which was essentially imagining home. And so I called the class performing home, because we were looking at concepts of home through the lens of performance studies, through the lens of theater, film, and critical studies. My class had about 10 students, but we were quite an interdisciplinary group. We had students from cinema, creative writing, and of course, theater. But we were all approaching the topic of home through our individual lenses. When we started the class in spring semester of 2020, we were still meeting in person. We had in-person classes, but towards I think almost we had completed almost half the semester when the shelter in place order came in, and we had to go online. So when I had first designed the class, I had envisioned it as an exhibit, or as part of our group exhibit, and so our students would have performed live, and that was the original vision that we had, that there was going to be devised performances, some film screening, some multimedia work where it would be a combination of device, live performance, and simultaneous screening of previously recorded works. So we were quite experimental in our approach, but almost towards the middle of the semester, when we realized that we are all going online at least until the end of the semester, I slightly kind of changed the design of the final culminating projects. And as a group, the Creative Arts Affinity Group, we also decided that we were going to have online exhibits. So my students were very flexible. They kind of quickly adjusted to the change, and eventually their performances and their projects were mostly online. Um, you know, when we first started talking about this project, that was uh, towards the last part of 2019, I think around December almost, or maybe November, we had first started talking about this project in our Creative Arts Affinity group. We all immediately connected with this idea of home, and we had already started thinking of those topics. For me personally, it was even more personal because, being a first generation immigrant to this country, leaving my home behind in Kolkata, in India, and then, you know kind of trying to find what home is in a new country, in a new land, and trying to get adjusted to new rules, had a very different meaning of home. So I would say that I had started meditating on these themes ever since I arrived. That was like in 2010, and throughout my stay here, I kind of had a few projects that dealt with similar ideas. So in 2014, when I was still a student at Stanford, I got a grant to do a creative project, and I had a group of devised performance artists, and we kind of created a device performance called Almost Home. In 2018, when I was teaching at Florida State University, I got another grant, and I was again working on these similar themes. And so I kind of started imagining these projects as part of a continuum of my thought process, part of a continuum of my reflections of home. And then in 2019, late 2019, again, when our group came together, we started, and our group is quite interdisciplinary as well, but I started thinking of how to incorporate these ideas that I have meditated upon for so long into the pedagogy, into the curriculum, into projects that I design for my students. And I think that was the most exciting part for me, because I got a chance to kind of include that in the syllabus. So again, because we had 10 students and each student had their own autobiographical projects, we ended up with 10 different projects, all recorded, either kind of a film version, because we did have a couple of film students, so they decided to go with a complete film, quite experimental in its narration, but it was a film format. But some of my students decided to do a more devised performance that was kind of captured on camera so that it could be exhibited online. So around the time we were thinking about this project, a lot was happening, even politically, in this country and around the world. And I think the travel ban, the Muslim ban, all these bans, everything woven into the socio-political fabric, like these constant thoughts of immigration and settlement and resettlement, news of children in cages, news of different policies that the administration was kind of implementing, really made us think of home not just as a concrete structure, but as a larger concept, a sense, as a sense of belonging, as a sense of being rooted or not. And so of course, it had a lot of significance because of my own personal reasons, but also because of larger political reasons. And of course, being in the San Francisco Bay Area, where cost of living is so high, where the rich poor divide is so stark, where homelessness is such an urgent matter, I feel like I was already thinking of home in many different layers and in many different ways. And then once we went online, once this pandemic was announced, once the stay-at-home order was enacted, the meaning of home gained another layer of significance, not just for me, but for my students, for my colleagues. And I realized that how much higher the stakes had become once we had all gone online, once we were restricted to our own spaces, when having a home was almost so imperative, and then it kind of made us think about these issues even more, because of all the other things that were going on around the world. So I think, not just in general, but especially because of the circumstances, because of these circumstances that kind of led to the pandemic, and then kind of us figuring out how to kind of shift all the projects online, and thinking of spaces, not just physical spaces, but virtual spaces, national spaces, international spaces, borders, that kind of really made our focus much sharper on this topic of home. So this semester, this spring, I'm also teaching another graduate seminar, which is on play crafting and dramaturgy, where I'm also asking my students to write short plays and write short scenes, adapt short scenes from other novels and plays. But again, we are still continuing to reflect on those themes. Um, and hopefully, even though I do already have a collection of works by my former students from my seminar class in spring 2020, I'm hoping that we will get more works by the end of the semester that we can add to this project.